Oh, that's right. It's coming back to how we're going to have all these events, because now all of the money is coming from the Middle East. They're going to make the premier events, and they're going to make the premier focus the Middle East going forward. And so
Gosh.
the window going forward isn't going to be, oh, how do we return to North America? If anything, they're going to be like, how do we exclude North America, or only allow North America to get involved as much as, as little as possible to keep them relevant and maybe get some of that sponsorship. But the focus is going to be on the Riyads, on the Bahrains, on the focus is going to be over.
I don't know if you noticed this,
elsewhere.
Semmler, because obviously this is less of a CSGO thing. It's more League of Legends and Valorant, which are Riot Games properties.
Sure.
So to be fair, owned by China. It's not like they actually are themselves the Saudis like ESL. But there's been a very subtle move over the last 2 years, Semmler, which actually hints towards what you're talking about, which is, did you notice that in both Valorant, so for VCT, which is what they call their circuit, and then in League of Legends, in League of Legends, it's also region split up, right? Now you might know this, even if you don't watch League of Legends. What's the European League called in League of Legends?
LEC.
Yeah, and before that it was called EULCS, right? Right. Here's the problem, Samuel. That's not what it's called anymore. Because the region, it's called LEC, but the region now is called EMEA. Same thing for Valorant. That means, I'm not joking, like Europe and Middle East. That's like what, if I look it up now, I think it means like Europe and Middle East, Asia or something. Let's have a look what EMEA means.
Really?
Yeah, Europe means Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. That's a region now, Semmler. Now, here's why this is mad. They're trying to make it so that it won't be weird in the future that all the finals will be there, because that'll just be the region. That'll just be a major player in the region. What you've done there is you've backdoored places like Riyadh and Abu Dhabi into the concept that that's Europe somehow in some weird way. So I just find it bizarre, because I don't know anyone who's from the UK who ever thinks, well, the same region as me. That'd be like, what, Saudi Arabia? Like, what? Like, bro, like that's just such a conceptually separate aspect. So I just noticed that they did it in those. Now, the reason they also did it, by the way, in those games, Semmler, is because in those games, obviously, Middle East and Africa are quite irrelevant compared to Europe and North America and all that. So for now, it doesn't look like you changed anything. Like, it's all just Europeans at the moment, by the way, in LEC and in the Valorant War. And then all that. But to me, it's like you're setting up for this future. And what you're realizing is in the future, one day, they're going to come to me and be, why isn't there a Middle East region? You go, there is. It's one of the best. You know what I mean? You've already got it set up. I think that's actually going on for real. I think that's part of what they're subtly doing. Because if you notice, one of the things they do in general is if you're smart, you start changing the language before you need it. You know what I mean? That's what they've done with a load of the terminology in society. You work on that years before, because then you've won half the battle once you get it into people's brains.
Without a doubt. Not just when you're doing that, don't create a list. This is a reference to the books in the UK right now, where they're like, oh yeah, we're just going to go ahead and edit these books, and these books are now verboten as right wing or whatever. Apparently Lord of the Rings is right wing, guys, just so you know. Bit on the nose, big.
I mean, everything people don't like is apparently, that's the logic.
Yeah,
right?
there you go. So this is perhaps a little bit more subtle, and I think you're onto something. I think you're 100% onto something with this.
I'm just waiting to see if that ever happens in CS, because if that's the move, then we just know which way it's going, right?
Well, I feel like that's the way it's going to go regardless, because now all the money is coming from the Middle East. So the Middle East is going to be made the focus. Europe will be traveling down there for their major events. There's at least going to be one major event happening down in the Middle East, if not two. Well, we know that there's at least going to be, well, hold on. We know that Blast, right? We're going to have at least one in the region. And now I would be amazed if there isn't going to be another one worked into the calendar by ESL soon in the near future. That has to happen. And from there going forward, I wouldn't be surprised to see if it's okay. You're gonna have a steady 2 to 3 events happening down there. Whereas in North America, I would be surprised if you get anything more than Dallas. Dallas may literally be just the concession, like, okay, we'll let you have Dallas, and then that's it. That's it. You either make it to Dallas or you're not going to make it at all. I mean, what do you think about? I don't know. I feel like we've touched on this in the past, of course. The whole all these teams that didn't join Flashpoint, that didn't join these kinds of ventures that we're trying to bring focus back to North America and tier 2, and now they're complaining about how, oh well, we have to travel to EU a lot. It's like, well, I mean, you could have tried to take steps towards supporting tournament organizers that would have given you the option to spend more time in North America. Something about making your bed and having to lie in it. But it is a bit rich that these team owners are now coming out and complaining about it, or like Complexity. That's what I'm getting at here, is that Graham, the GM for Complexity, and then Jason Lake, the owner, came out recently saying, woe is us. Our players have to spend so much time on the road, so much time traveling. Well, it's like, gentlemen, you kind of contributed to this to this steady decline of North American CS, and you've kind of contributed to this situation that you now find yourselves in. And so you kind of have to ride with it, don't you, until something else comes along, until ESL, as you've talked about, until ESL maybe makes some kind of North American circuit to take advantage of CSGO 2. But or CS2 rather, I guess is that what we're gonna have to call it now? CS2.
Here's, by the way, why I don't really buy or have much sympathy for people in that position now is, as you say, here's the problem, Semmler. This isn't 2016, boys. Why are you doing a tweet? The tweet, remember, is for me and you to see, Semmler, not for ESL to see. So what you're trying to do is use public sentiment to get ESL to do what you want. Why would you need to, boys? You signed a Lufa agreement with them. They're your partner. You're partners with them. Go talk to them directly, Jason Lake. Messi also. Why are you tweeting, bro? You've got Ulrich's number. Hit the fucking line, mate. That's your business partner. And then secondly, who else have you partnered with? Oh, CSPPA. So if you're a player, don't bother tweeting, bro. Do another historic deal with the ESL. That's what I mean. Some of the stupidest thing about esports is they'll do these deals. They'll claim their partners. They'll claim everything's great and hunky-dory and awesome. But then they just bitch and moan about it all. It's like, well, which is it? It obviously isn't. You're obviously hating life. Like, the saddest thing there, by the way, is I think the fact that complexity of all the people are complaining is really suspicious. Their team's actually on sort of a little mini renaissance. And considering they haven't spent loads of money on the team, they're actually in pretty good conditions. You'd think, if anything, they should be the ones sort of loving the chance to compete. No, what they want is to go back in a time machine and have loads of events in America. As you say, Semmler, there was only, and anyone who knew anything about the business of esports knew this, there was only one possible path to getting back to North American events, like some Doctor Strange shit, where you go and check out every timeline, and it was obviously Flashpoint. That's the reason why I've made this point in the past. I didn't leave Flashpoint because Cloud9 didn't get a good enough lineup, or they didn't pin it. No. The reason I left was when I realized, by talking to all the people behind the scenes, they were never going to actually commit and make good rosters. So I was like, so essentially the whole premise of the league doesn't work. Therefore, it has to die. And spoiler, when it died, there is no chance now. Like, as you say, the best case scenario for you in the ESL circuit is maybe they give you one more event. Maybe they do like a New York event, or maybe I would say this. I wouldn't even say that they'll do it out of choice. I would say your best case scenario is if they got some sort of interesting proposal. Like, I'll give you a random one. Say some company in Canada wanted to specifically do an event in Toronto or something, and it has to be like this activation, and maybe, they have like some hookup with the stadium for the Raptors or something. If something like that, maybe ESL opportunistically might do it. But I think the idea they're ever going to come back to North America, they aren't. And the reason you know why is, as you pointed out, the last 2 years, the only event is IEM Dallas. This is where ESL are slick if you don't know history. When ESL started going back to Dallas and doing those events a couple of years ago, they started flexing that angle of like, we're back where Counter-Strike began. Yeah, that's actually a really disturbing thing, actually, ESL. Why are you back where Counter-Strike began? Why would you be bragging in like 2022 and 2023 that you now do events where we had to do events in 2001 because esports was too tiny and could never fill a venue? That's not a brag, dude. Like, you are aware, Semmler, you don't know this. In like in soccer, European football, obviously years and years ago, it was a way smaller thing. It wasn't that big. Dude, imagine like Manchester United was like, we're going to move into our old ground from 50 years ago. That wouldn't be good news. That would mean everything's tanking. Like, you're in giant stadiums. You've gone beyond that. So I don't think people even know. Even the Dallas angle, that's so cynically put together, dude. That just looks to me like this, because if people don't know what makes Dallas different from like New York or LA, it's this infinite space. It's why you can get a house there if you're a team, by the way. Spoiler, CS Summit. You should have done this, you idiots. Why are you in LA, you morons? You should have been in like somewhere like Dallas. The reason in Dallas, dude, you can get like one of those houses. I might be off on the prices now, but you can get like a house for like 200K. You can just buy the house outright. It'll be like a fucking mini mansion. It's because there's like infinite space to build, isn't there? And everyone can just do it. So to me, the whole reason you're back in Dallas is because that's the area where it's just going to be cheap to rent like a big ballroom or something. Like, it's going to be easy. So that's not a good sign. And I think NA is just done, mate. Like, it's not even the idea of like, I think it's a bit too EU. It is European, you morons. The joke is, do you want to play Counter-Strike? Because here's another thing, Semmler. If you're a talent, do you want to be in esports or not? If you do, you got to work with Saudi Arabia and China. Are you a pro player in CSGO? Do you want to be a pro player in CSGO? If you answered yes, that means you're going to play the majority of your time in Europe. I didn't make that choice, mate. As you point out, Semmler, they played their own role in walking us down this path. Like, we've just gone too many steps down, boys. We can't turn around now.
Well, it's like, I mean, if we want to compare it to sports, right? Like you say, Premier League, where's Premier League located? In Europe. If you want to play hockey at the highest level, where are you going to go? You're going to go to the NHL. Well, if you're from Russia, you're going to North America.
Bro,
you're going to go live there.
I hadn't even thought of that. Think how entitled they sound. Imagine, dude, like Ovechkin, one of the greatest Russian players of all time in the NHL, going, it's so fucked up I have to go to North America, though. Why can't I just play in Russia? It's like, oh, no, you can, Ovechkin, in a way smaller league with none of those millions of dollars, none of this influence, and there wouldn't be a mic in front of you now. So do you want that? And the joke here, by the way, this is even worse. Imagine Ovechkin bitch like that, Semmler, but about 5 years into his career, there was a bunch of billionaires that were like, you know what, let's make a rival league in Russia and Eastern Europe that'll rival the NHL. Do you want to be a part of it, Ovechkin? And he went, nah, because I've just used the fact that you offered me that to get 5% better on my deal in the NHL. Well, then fuck you then, mate. After you've done that, I don't care about your complaint 15 years later when you didn't join my product. That's the analogy people don't know. The saddest thing about this, and this is the ultimate esports story, is, I mean, I'll give you a great example, Sam. You're one of the only people who'll know this fucking reference, but anyone else can Google it and they'll know what a banger reference it is. It's not even in esports, Semmler, that they're actually smart and they do a good business deal and sell out for loads of money. And you go, at least, look, I'm not a material person, but you could at least go, well, at least they got their bag. These morons are like that famous story of fucking Isaac and Jacob or whatever it is. You know the story where one of them has the birthright that he would have had, like the whole nation of Israel would have come through him, and he literally trades his birthright because in the moment he is hungry for like a bowl of soup. He trades an entire, like, to be like the like fucking patriarch of the entire like lineage of the Bible, basically. He had that in his hand and he just traded it for a bowl of soup. Well, the point there, that's like these esports pros. You traded it essentially for real for like a few $1,000s. That's what you essentially trade. By the way, here's the joke. Here's the mad analogy. North American CSGO team owners are the Indians in North America trading away like all of like the continent for a bunch of beads. You thought it was, whatever, I got the beats. Like, yeah, you lost the whole thing, you idiot. Like, it's gone now. See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.